Hey traders, welcome back to another market update. Today we're going to be taking a look at the currency market and seeing what's going on in terms of technical analysis. Let's start out here with Euro USD. What you can see here is last week we had a lot of bearishness on this pair. So far this week, you can see we do have a green candle, but the big question in my mind here is, are we actually going to make it to that level we talked about, which is the 1.0926 level that we talked about last week on the market update. So my big idea here is that I think price wants to head back down to test recent lows. Now, if we find support there, that's entirely possible, but I think that price does want to head back down to, again, those recent structural lows to at least retest that area to see if buyers are still strong like they were back here, or if price is going to long-term continue this downtrend that we've seen. GBP USD also kind of ranging back and forth, but you can see right here, this level that we left on from last week has still come into play. You can see price is still trying to test this area to see, are we going to slip further, or are we just kind of holding this area right now? Still, to this point, I'd say that because I treat price kind of like a zone rather than a strict location, you can see like this, right? So if we go here and we make this light green, right? We're still holding this zone. You could argue that we're still kind of testing this area as a potential support level as we've held for here, here, and here. Remember that previously at this level there was a lot of resistance, and now as price retests it on the other end, a lot of times you're going to see buyers try and hold their best to hold this area as a supportive level. Next up is USD JPY, which you can see, as we mentioned last week, my idea here is that we could be headed back to this 110.26 level, and it looks like price wants to make its way up there. Still kind of halting right now here on the daily chart. If we drop it down really quick to the 4-hour chart, we might be able to see that level a little bit easier here. You can see there's our level of high at the 110.26 level. If we get one more shot here on USD JPY, I think we could make our way up to that point, but we'll see how that ends up playing. Next up is XAU USD, still holding the daily chart very nicely here on this upward trend. You can see there's our supportive levels holding, and you can see my idea is if price decides to pull back here, I think we could find a continued bounce in the direction of the overall trend here on gold. Brent crude is still falling here. You can see we identified this level as potential dead cat bounce that we talked about last week. Let me zoom in a little bit, see if we can see this a little bit better. You can see there it is in a little bit more detail. We broke underneath this level. Price tried to make some sort of a kind of a retracement there before ultimately failing really quickly there and showing that's kind of what a dead cat bounce looks like. Remember, we talked about it last week. It's just a very small, shallow retracement that does not get very far before getting beaten down. My idea here with oil is that I think we may be wanting to continue to head down to that $50 mark as price has held it historically in this area previously on the chart here, right? So something to consider. WTI crude probably going to be the same story there. You can see looking like it wants to potentially break this zone and maybe head down to the 43 level. Of course, that's just my own analysis, and at the end of the day, make your own trading decisions, but something that I'm personally watching there on WTI crude. Euro GBP is the next one. You can see what we've got here is still holding this level that we've been talking about. The downward trend line has broken to the upside. We've retested it, and I think it's possible that we could find continued bullishness, but really I mentioned on previous videos here that I think that this level is probably my favorite level for a retracement. So if price retraces, the idea being we get a retracement back to that 50%, there might be a nice little sell side setup on Euro GBP on a longer term swing basis. USD Swiss here looking like it does want to come back to that level we talked about last week, which I'm excited for because I like the idea of selling in this general area personally at the 61.8. I think that's a decent setup in favor of kind of the downward motion that we have. So if we get something like this, right, especially if we line up with that trend line, right, if we get the trend line, we've got the zone of resistance and the 61.8. To me, that's a nice little confluence-based trade, and there might actually be some nice opportunities there. AUD USD is our last one for the day. You can see we are back at the recent lows that we've been watching closely, and it looks like price wants to give a stab to see if we can try and make one more bounce here, but my overall opinion still remains bearish on this pair as we've been trading underneath the 200-day for quite a long time with a lot of strength to the downside, and I think that it's possible we break this level to continue that longer term downtrend. We'll see what we get there, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you got something out of today's video, and we'll see you back next time.